Welcome to the next video in the series on the target retail price comparison, and this one concerns how to actually use the information. So far we've gone through why we do the price comparison, why it's of particular use to yourselves, independent IT retailers and resellers. The last video looked in detail at the content of the different parts of the survey and the information that you get back. What we're going to do in this video is to dig into that and to do some actual examples. We're going to do 3 examples looking at the information and looking what the implications on pricing might be. So to recap, your report does a few things. It allows you to compare your prices to the average prices of the big chains. It allows you to compare your pricing and sales satisfaction to that of your peers. So it's quite wide in what it does. Really, when it comes down to what you should use it for, you should always use it for what you believe is right for your business. By providing you this information, we're not trying to dictate what your prices should be, whether you should change them at all. We're merely providing you with information that gives you insight into what other businesses just like you are charging up and down the country for the same products. Our recommendation is use the information, take a look on it, but focus on the major issues. Don't get bogged down by some of the detail. Look at where your pricing looks to be significantly at odds with what your peers are charging. Look at pricing where you're significantly dissatisfied with the results that you're getting and see what your peers are pricing at. Those are the places to look rather than getting bogged down into lots and lots of detail. And those are the areas that will give you greatest return most quickly. So the first place to start looking in your report is the Don't Stock tab. Right? This is simple stuff because this is items where you're not stocking things but maybe giving others good sales satisfaction. So it's potentially areas where there may be opportunity for you to improve your range. It tells you how many respondents replied, which is an indication of the popularity of that product with other people. How they feel about sales performance, their sales satisfaction. And remember, performance is related to promotion. So whilst they may be feeling good about that product, remember to take into account that some products do need to be sold. Some products sell themselves better than others. So when you're looking at this, bear that in mind. And it does include average data for the big chains. It gives you an indication again of price positioning, what you could charge. So, if you were to take that information there, very simple question, what would you charge and what would you stock? Well, to help you, you can immediately see down here the number of responses for those different products listed. There's some here up at 67 responses out of the 100 odd, so 67% of customers stock webcams, 8 megapixel webcams that I don't stock. That's interesting. How do they rate them in terms of sales satisfaction? 3.01. Remember, 1 was very poor, 5 was very good, 3 is a perfectly respectable sales satisfaction. So, 67% of respondents are stocking something that I don't, and they're getting a good level of sales satisfaction out of it. That's a candidate for me to seriously consider. And not only that, look at the pricing. Now, there's a bit of information here that needs to be interpreted, but the average price that my peers are charging, £16.19. The most popular price, the Mode, £15, $14.99. PC World are up at £50. That needs a bit of investigation. That's a very big price difference. So it would be worth, if you were thinking about this, popping out to your local PC World and just seeing what they are genuinely charging. But look, Tesco are doing it for 20 quid. So there's definitely an opportunity here. A lot of people are stocking something I don't, they're getting good sales satisfaction out of it, and I could sell it easily in around the range of between 15 to 20 pounds, possibly higher. So that's a good opportunity for me. Maybe I should really think about doing that. Looking down the list more, processors, bit of a specialist product, but if we looked here at software, Office 2010, Home and Student, 48% of people responded, I'm not stocking this. 48%, yeah, that's about enough to take it seriously. Yeah, with a sales satisfaction of 2.75, slightly below ideal, but I think in there may be questions about how well is it being sold. It's not the kind of product that people usually come in and ask for. Yeah, it's not the kind of product that will sell itself off of shelves. So in other words, to make a success of it, you've got to think about how you can roll it into your sales pattern, how you can promote it, and how you can make it into a good seller. But let's say you thought that you could do that. You've got 48% of people responding. You've got prices anywhere between, well, what, £99 up to 110 that you could be charging for that. Again, potentially another great example of a product that this customer is not yet stocking but could, that would increase their range and give them more opportunities to make more money. Apart from that, that's probably about as far as that report goes. So not all of it is useful, but certainly there are nuggets in this that you will find useful for yourselves. So the Don't Stock tab is the place to start. So next, look in the Do Stock tab. And some principles to consider, and this is what's always behind what we're doing on pricing with you. Extreme pricing can destroy trust. If you're seen as being too expensive, rip off. Don't go there, they cost the earth. If you're seen as being too cheap, there's always this business about, well, what's wrong with what they're selling? What's up with it? So you must be sensitive to price in the range. Yeah, underpricing is a huge lost opportunity. Did you know if your average markup is 30%, that your pricing is just 3% under what you could reasonably charge to be the same as your peers? Yeah? You are creating a burden on the business of having to sell an additional 15% in order to make the same profit as they are. Just 3% less means you have to sell 15% more by unit, by volume, to make the same amount of money that they are. And if you did increase your prices by those 3%, you'd make 13% additional profit. Yeah? So many people don't understand the relationship between price, profit and volume. It's a really important one to bear in mind. We've got the price change tool in the detailed report to help you understand this. But low pricing, underpricing, just that little bit is a huge lost opportunity. In everything we're doing about helping you set your prices, no one's suggesting that you profiteer. All we're looking for is those opportunities where you can price reasonably compared to other businesses like yourself. That's the name of the game. Your cheapest items are the easiest opportunities. Your most expensive items present you latent risk. Now, you might be extremely satisfied with a particular product that you're selling very, very expensively. And that's great for as long as it takes for somebody to find out. What will that customer think? Yeah? Suddenly they realise that they've been paying over the odds. Well, certainly it'll call into question all your other prices on all your other products. If you rip me off on this, what do you take me for a ride? What else do you take me for a ride on? So all I would say is Q4 pricing, be careful, be careful. Consider the risk that you're carrying, consider the implications of what would happen and how likely it is to happen, because it might not necessarily be the case, how likely it is to happen that you get found out. I'd always suggest addressing pricing issues first and then sales satisfaction. Pricing is a lot easier to get to grips with. Sales satisfaction driven issues tend to be caused by issues to do with how well a product is being promoted, and that then calls into question your whole promotional approach, everything to do with selling and sales techniques, which is a whole different set of issues. Okay? Deal with pricing first. Deal with pricing first. In particular, if you simply look for areas where you can reasonably look to increase prices, you'll immediately get easy gains by just bringing your prices in line with what you could expect your peers to be charging. So, where to raise and lower prices? How on earth would you start? Okay, I'm going to start working through the method now. I'll give you some background and then we'll do the examples that I mentioned. Price points that help. Remember the structure behind everything we do. We've broken everything down into the upper quartile, the top 25% of prices, the quartile 1 area, the lowest 25% of prices, and the 2 middle quartiles, the 50% in the middle. The ideal being the 50% in the middle is the safe place to be in the absence of sales satisfaction data, which we do use. But the 3 price points that help are the quartile 4 lower, in other words, the point at which prices start to become expensive, the quartile 4 upper, the point at which prices start to become too cheap, and the median price. yeah, which is where half the respondents are above that price and half are below. The satisfaction values that matter, we've got the average satisfaction of those prices in Q4, we've got the Q2 and 3 average, in other words the average satisfaction of everyone in the middle and the average satisfaction of people at the bottom. And it's a mixture of those satisfactions and those pricing that helps set your price. How do we go about doing that? Well, first and foremost, the major goal is to start looking at being sensibly priced compared with peers first, and then think about the implications of the big chains. It's an important point to note here. What happens if you go into price competition with one of your peers? Well, the answer is they'll price compete back, and it becomes a simple race for who's got the biggest pockets or the deepest pockets, and nobody wins, and it's very painful. But what happens if you price compete against a big chain? They don't fight back. They can't fight back. They're not set up to fight back. They're run and managed nationally, not locally. A local store manager is only responsible for making sure that staff turn up on time, the doors are open, the floors are clean, products are on the shelves, and the place functions. So it's a very different way of competing. We start off by looking to price sensibly with peers first, and then look at what that does from the point of view of pricing with the big guys second. Okay? And then our goals of price setting are always always look for the opportunities to raise prices first and foremost. Yeah. Do that in relation to peer satisfaction, and as part of it all, identify contenders for price competition. And I'll cover that off specifically and what I mean by that, very detailed, in just a moment. So let's look at the worked examples. I'm going to do 3. One where a product is perhaps priced too low, one where a product is perhaps already priced at the right price, and one where a product may be priced a little high. Let's consider how we go about looking at these. And the way we do it is the same every single time. It's a little routine to go through, okay? So this is the product in question. Set of speakers, basic speakers, 1 watt mains powered speakers. All the information that's in the report is just planted there. The number of responses, 74 people have answered, so that's a good response rate. The average price of £9.49, a median of £9.99, a quartile 1 upper of 8, quartile 4 lower of 10. My price happens to be 6. Average satisfaction rating 3.16, Q4 average 3.4. You can read the numbers for yourself. How do we make sense of all of that? That's the question, isn't it? Okay, so the first point we start at is with satisfaction. Yeah, we're always looking to adjust our prices to be those that give our peers, to be in line with those that give our peers greater satisfaction. Okay, so the start point is satisfaction, not price. We've got that structure of quartiles starting with Q4 at the top through Q1 at the bottom, and the 3 satisfactions that matter, the Q4 average, Q2 3 average, Q1 average. Okay, that is the place to start. What are the values? Well, the values are 3.4 for the Q4, 3.31 in the middle, and 2.96 at the bottom. So we've got a product here with a relationship that says the higher the price, the higher the satisfaction, which is interesting. That just shows you how price and sales satisfaction work. And if you think about the nature of this product, and whether it's a fast or slow moving item and how often people are likely to buy it in their lifetimes, maybe that points to why price and sales satisfaction are related the way they are. But nevertheless, this is what the data is telling us. Where am I? Where's my sales satisfaction? This is customer. Where am I on this? And my satisfaction is quite low. I'm down at 3. Okay? So what price quartile would I need to be to get maximum sales satisfaction? Well, the maximum sales satisfaction with this product corresponds with Q4, would you believe? So that implies probably a price increase. Okay? What would that look like? Right. We're looking to always maximise the number of times we raise prices and limit price reductions. So let's think about our quartiles again, but this time let's think about pricing. The 3 prices that matter are the Q4 lower, the median, and the Q1 upper. Those are the ones that define either end of the sensible range and the price in the middle. And those are the values. Our Q4 lower is at £10, our median is at £9.99, and our Q1 upper is at 8. Now, I'm priced currently at 6, and the price that corresponds to the quartile giving highest satisfaction would be the Q4 lower price. So the suggestion is that I would improve my sales satisfaction with this product if I were to raise its price from £6 to 10. Now, suspend judgment. Nobody's telling you to do this. We're just looking at the data. The question is, blimey, that's a 66% price rise. That's a huge price rise. In actual fact, I'm going to lose business on that. Surely I'm going to lose business on it. Well, again, if you think about how often it's sold, maybe not. But let's say you're worried about the fact that you might. The question then becomes, how much sales can I afford to lose? Because remember, I'm making £4 per unit more every time I sell one. How many sales could I afford to lose before this becomes a bad idea? And this is where the price change tool comes in. Okay, so thinking about the price change tool, you buy those products from us for $3.99 plus VAT, then you sell them at £6 currently. That's a 25% markup. Remember, the price change tool uses markup. If you increase price from £6 to £10, that's a 66% price rise. With those two pieces of information, you have everything you need to be able to use the price change tool. And if you stick that into the price change tool, the price change tool will actually give you this following statement. It'll show you the numbers, but there's a macro in it that actually gives you this text. With an existing markup of 25%, you could afford to sell up to 77% less units before an increase in price of 66% would reduce your profit. Yeah? 3/4 of your business could evaporate before this is a bad idea. Now, I can't tell you whether raising prices is going to have that effect on your business or not. I can't tell you how many customers that would bulk and in your particular area with a price rise like that. What I can say is that we know, given your markup and given the price rise, that those numbers are accurate, those numbers are fair, and that's the data that you should use when thinking about your price change. Or another way of looking at it is, in other words, is 3/4 of your customers going to say no? Or another way of looking is, for every 4 people that would have bought before, once you raise the price, only 1 will buy now. Sounds unlikely, doesn't it? It sounds unlikely. You can't prove definitively that it is the case, but it does definitely sound unlikely. Now, that's all very well. Okay, I feel happy in actual fact that raising my prices to £10, it sounded a lot, but in actual fact when I look at the price change tool, I can't believe that I'm going to lose that amount of custom. So, alright, I'll consider raising my prices to that, but hang on a minute, where are the big guys in all of this? In actual fact, do they actually matter? Well, sometimes they don't. Yeah, sometimes they don't. You don't have to automatically take account of PC World's prices, because if a PC World isn't in your locality, it's not convenient for customers. Yeah, so there are several things to think about when thinking about whether a big chain actually matters or not. For example, are they in the locality? Are they convenient to get to? Or is it a 10-15 mile drive? The average shopper in the UK in a built-up area will travel about 4.5 miles to go shopping. Yeah, it's as close as that. Rural areas, it'll be more, obviously, but that's what you've got to consider. You're a local business selling to a local area. Will people in your locality want to go to a PC World that's 10 miles away? No, they probably won't. But if you're sited just opposite one, maybe they will. But that's a separate issue, but that's not necessarily bad in its own right. You have to think about convenience. Would they consider it a relevant destination? Now, this is this whole thing called shopper consideration, which when it comes to play means that if I was to think of buying a particular product, would I consider a particular destination as appropriate to go and buy it? At its simplest level, would I go and buy a computer in a greengrocer? Well, of course I would. Of course I would. You go to a greengrocer to buy vegetables. Yeah? So, you apply the same set of principles. Would I buy batteries from a Tesco? Yeah, I'd consider buying batteries from a Tesco. Yeah, I know they sell batteries. I'd certainly consider buying batteries. Would I consider buying a router from a Tesco, or a home plug from a Tesco, or a processor from a Tesco, or a piece of RAM from a Tesco? Maybe not. Maybe not. So on a basis of consideration, Tesco's not a relevant destination anymore. But a PC World, well, yes I might. Yes I might. And if that PC World is convenient, then you're starting to see the need for why you might take account of a PC World's price, for example, in that case. Other reasons to take care or to take notice of big chains are to do with the significance of potential savings, and by that I mean the absolute amount. So if it's a big ticket item, customers are going to be likely to do a bit of research, talk to their friends, maybe go on the internet and find out and look for places where they can get keen prices on items, because let's face it, if you're buying an item for 500 quid and you can save 10%, that's £50. Yeah, that's worth having. That'll buy you some nice things to go with the new laptop or whatever it is that you're buying. So absolute value has a key role to play when thinking about whether big chains matter, or whether people will be prepared to go out of their way to go and get those better prices. But at the opposite end of the scale, there's things like, is a price common knowledge? Now that can mean two things. For example, PC World regularly advertise the price of certain items on the TV. What they're doing is planting in people's minds an expectation of what the price should be for something. Yeah? Or, alternatively, people buy ink, they buy batteries often. These are consumables. Media would be another example. Possibly even paper would be another example. These are things that people are buying often, and therefore they have a sense of what the price should be. They can remember the last time they bought it and how much it cost. You know? So all of these things together all provide you a mix and a view on whether or not big chain pricing matters. And at simplest level, it doesn't always matter. You need to think rationally about it, and you need to take notice of big chain pricing only if it matters and not automatically. But let's say, for the example we're looking at, we assume big chain pricing does matter. They are local, they are convenient, and shoppers would consider buying these speakers at them. I mean, whether or not that's true doesn't matter. We're assuming it is for now. So, we've got our price quartiles. We know our positioning. We know the upper quartile of our peers. We know the midpoint of our peers. We know the price where we were, and we know we're proposing at the moment to raise our price to £10. Where's everybody else? Well, big chain prices. Lo and behold, PC World and Asda are charging £14, £13.99. Tesco are in at £9.99, so about 10 quid for the sake of a penny. The question then becomes, what do you do? Now, I'm not going to tell you what to do, but what I would say is this. You've got some opportunities. You've got a potential price gap you might want to exploit. And this is the basis for proper price competition from your perspective. You should never be looking to try and compete on price by stripping margin out of your products. You should be looking for the opportunities where you can make good margin on products and use them to price compete against others. And this would be an example where you've taken something you were selling at £6, you've raised it to £10, and you're still operating at a good discount when compared to one of the major chains. Now the issue then becomes, well, speakers, are they something that people would get bothered about? Possibly not. But hopefully you get the principle and you can see how it might apply to other products. And indeed some of the other examples that I'll go through do play to this very well. But you might want to exploit the gap. You might want to price even higher. Remember, you've still got £4 worth of range there, especially if you take notice of consideration. Because how many people are going to think of going to Tesco's for speakers? Yeah, I'd automatically think it would need to be somewhere technical like a PC World. So in actual fact, I know that peer satisfaction is highest within Q4, and maybe £10 is slightly light. Maybe I could go to £11, possibly even 12, and still have a price gap that I could exploit, that I could promote on when compared to a PC World. So let's move on to the next example, which is an item that is ostensibly right priced. What is it? An Epson compatible 711 series black ink. 71% of respondents came back with price and sales satisfaction data on that, so that gives us good confidence in the information. And this is an interesting one. 70% of people are stocking it, or 30% aren't, and it's got a sales satisfaction of above 4. We find that ink has the greatest sales satisfaction of any product that we've got. It's a fantastic opportunity to make margin. The markups on inks are truly enormous, but 30% of you aren't stocking them. Anyway, that's a different question. To return, we've got average pricing, we've got all the information we had before, taken from the survey report. So how do we use it? Okay, where did we start last time? we started with sales satisfaction. So the first place to look when thinking about price isn't price, it's with sales satisfaction. What does that look like? So we've got our 4 quartiles again, yeah? The highest through to the lowest. And the 3 values that matter in terms of satisfaction: quartile 4 average, quartile 2-3 average, and quartile 1 average. What are the values that come out from our peers in terms of satisfaction with this product? Okay, Q4 average is 4, Q2-3 average is also 4, so it's quite flat. Q1 average, 4.6, suddenly a great big jump. So people are most highly satisfied with this product, selling at a lower price than a high price. Yeah? And by the way that the prices break out, yes, they're happier selling at a Q1 price, a very low price. Doesn't mean it's bad. That's where the greatest satisfaction is. So that's where we should certainly consider. Where's my sales satisfaction? Well, I'm really, really pleased with this item, so I'm down at 5. Where should I be? Well, the way the model would work would be to say, well, you should be aiming at 4.6, so a minor decrease in satisfaction. Or another way of looking at it would be, what's the price that I should be looking at? What's the corresponding price? And if you recall, the way that works is it's going to be the Q1 upper price. Yeah. So the Q4 lower is £9.99, the median is 6, and the Q1 upper is £3.99. My price is at £3. Yeah. The model would suggest £3.99 would be a better price for me to consider. In other words, raising my prices by 99p. Okay, fair enough. Again, always trying to raise prices rather than lower them. Of course, it's the same problem as before. We're going to raise price, so we have to expect the fact that maybe some customers will no longer purchase from us. The issue is what is the real impact of that? How can we use the price change tool to better understand it? Or another way to look at it is how much lost sales before this is a bad idea. So, banks at 46p plus VAT, sell them at £3. That's quite a large markup, but that's the going rate. Some people are charging a lot more. Increasing price from £3 to £3.99, that's a 33% rise. So if you use the price change tool, what does that tell us? With an existing markup of 450%, you can afford to sell up to 29% less units before an increase in price of 33% would reduce profit. Now you can see how those curves work, because the higher the markup, the lower the percentages become. But nevertheless, you're still looking at a third of your business walking out the door before raising your prices by a third becomes unreasonable. Or another way of looking at it is a third of your customers going to balk at the price, or for every 3 people that would have bought before, will only 1 buy now? How likely is that? I can't answer that question for you. All I can do is present you with the means of understanding the implications of the price change in more rational terms than just your pure emotions about how you feel about things. But it certainly, again, feels to me like it's going to be unlikely. It's going to be unlikely. So let's now take a look at see what that means in terms of the big chain pricing. You can see where we are. We've got the quartile 4 price, the median price, and our current price, and the raise to £3.99 that we're considering. But what about the big guys? This is where they're pricing. Interestingly, it's a bit around us, and there's a number of things that need to come to play here. Do you want to exploit the gap, say compared with Asda, ignoring Tesco's pricing at £3.48? Perhaps Tesco isn't in your locality, it's not convenient for people to get to, or you don't believe it would be somewhere where people would naturally consider buying inks from. I think they possibly would. And this price, £15.99 at PC World, that might be something that needs some further investigation. It does seem rather high. But again, you've got options about what you do and about how you go to market, how you promote the business. This could be another example of a great price difference where you want to point out that the big chains are not the good value that everyone seems to think that they are. Okay. The last example in the series of 3 that I'm going to run through is possibly one that would be regarded as being priced too high. In other words, this is one that's probably going to lead to a suggestion, and it is a suggestion of a price drop. Price drops always have to be taken very, very, very carefully. On the one hand, you've got the reputational issue about, well, I am priced too high, and what's the reputational risk of being found out, and how will that make customers feel about my prices more generally? On the other side of the equation, you've got a very, very serious issue concerned with the money that you'd be immediately losing the moment you dropped your price. Because unless you do something through your marketing and promotion to encourage more business to walk through the door in relation to that product, the moment you drop its price, you're immediately losing profit. So price drops have to be taken very, very carefully and in a very, very considered and careful manner. But the example I'm going to use here is a relatively unglamorous product, no particular reason. It's a networking hub, a 7-port networking hub. 61% of respondents replied, it's a decent number. They're getting an average sales satisfaction of about 3. So, it's a perfectly respectable product. And you can see the data for itself. In going through this, we go through the same routine as we would any other product. The first place to look at price is to look at satisfaction, and that's what we do. So we've got the 3 satisfaction values that matter most: Q4 average, Q2-3 average, and Q1 average. And this is clearly showing an increase in satisfaction with a decrease in price. Okay, fair enough. Where do I sit? Well, my current satisfaction is around 2. And my desired satisfaction to get to the maximum is down here at 3.19. Now it's already pointing to the fact that that looks like there's going to be a price drop involved. And if we look at prices, so we've got the Q4 lower, the median and the Q1 upper, and the corresponding price is £13.99, £10 and £9.95. We're quite close, but nevertheless different. And my current price is £12, and to match highest satisfaction I'd be aiming at the Q1 upper, the £9.95. So we're in a situation where we've got a product where our peer satisfaction data is telling us that we're overpriced by about £2 per item on that, and that a price reduction could be regarded as appropriate. And when you're saying could be, remember, unless you do anything to increase the amount of business coming through your door, you're immediately going to lose money. The issue you have to say is, or the question you have to ask yourself is, am I going to get found out? And if I do, what will it do to my wider reputation? Now, for a product like this, a USB hub, how many times are you going to sell one to people anyway? Not that often. So I would argue that possibly this isn't the most price-sensitive item, but the point still remains. If it is a price-sensitive item, you've really got to be careful about what you do with your pricing. Okay, so the question then becomes, how much more sales do you need to make? Because remember, the moment you drop the price, you're effectively giving away money. Every unit that you sell, in this case, you're going to be making £2 less than you would have done before. So how much more business do you need to make this a good idea? Okay, we use our old friend, the price change tool. These items we sell at about $4.87 plus VAT. The customer here is selling them at 12, that's 146% markup. Decreasing price from 12 to £9.95 is a 17% price drop. Notice the minus sign. It's important to remember the signs when you use the price change tool, otherwise it won't give you the right answers. If you plug all that in, you get the following. With an existing markup of 146%, you'd have to sell 40% more units to compensate for a reduction in price of 17%. 40% more units by just dropping the price 17%. That sounds like it could be a tall order. Indeed, it probably would be. Yeah, it probably would be. How many of us can honestly say we could drum up business just like that if we needed to? Answer, probably not that many. However, you then need to say, well, all right, that being the case, how much of a reputational risk am I carrying by being seen to be overpriced on this? And given the product in question, you might say, well, not that much. USB hub doesn't get bought that often. And anyway, I could probably defend the price on the basis of the brand I was selling, or something like that. But in other words, will your new price attract almost half as many more new people again as your old? And unless they know about it, they won't. It won't, will it? Unless you do some marketing and advertising, it won't. And the problem there is double hit, isn't it? Because not only have you given money away by discounting, you've also got to spend money, ostensibly, by doing the increased marketing. So, you really need to think about whether or not a price drop is going to be appropriate. I've included it here as an example to show you that sometimes it's suggested. I've also, as you've seen, given you lots of warnings about actually decreasing pricing and what that would do to your business. But what about the big chains? Okay, my peers, by peers, is telling me to drop my price. Well, that's all very well, but what about the big guys? So here we are with what we know about peer pricing. That's where I am currently, and that's where the suggestion is for me to go. Big chains, well, lo and behold, look at what they're charging. Considerably more. Considerably more. Now maybe there's an issue here to promote this product on the basis of the price gap. The issue is a networking USB Hub 7 port actually a product that's sexy enough to attract people's attention? And the answer is it probably isn't. So on this one, it's a good question. What would you do? Would you exploit the gap? Would you raise prices? Would you lower them? What would you do? I can't help you with that information, but what I can do is give you the means to look at it rationally, and that's what we've got to do. Rounding up on the worked examples, we've now gone through 3 examples, one that was clearly low priced and where a price rise was possible, another one that looked like it might be right priced, but in actual fact we did put a price rise on it, and we've also looked, because we have to, at situations where prices may be a bit overcooked and the consequences of lowering price. And I did that for a variety of reasons, but the main one of which was to talk to you about the severe implications for you and your business of lowering price. And the simple fact of the matter is that unless you can drum up business instantaneously to counter the effect of lowering your prices, then it's really, really something to only consider under extreme reputational circumstances. Under extreme reputational circumstances. Some other things about the work that we've done and about the price comparison survey. It's all about generic products. It does not include the impact of branded products that you may be selling. It just looks at them generically. And clearly brand will have a part to play in price. It compares lowest online prices with the big chains. So in actual fact, when we've done those examples and we've compared our prices compared to big chains, there may be opportunities to actually exploit an even bigger price difference. But to do that and understand that, you're going to need to go and do some mystery shopping. You're going to need to pitch up at an outdoor or RPC World and find out what they're charging for in their local store to you. It ignores, because we can't tell, any specific local competitive issues you may have. Either way. And that may be, as I've spoken to customers, that they've literally got another shop right opposite them on the high street, and they're competing fiercely day in, day out on the prices of all sorts of products. Equally, it could be, as I was speaking with another customer only very recently, that they're the only supplier in a small village in a fairly remote part of the country. That in itself will have an impact on pricing and tend to push pricing up. And the other issue is, we don't know, we can't tell in the data that we've got how good anyone is at marketing and selling. And that includes your peers just as much as it includes you. So whilst your sales satisfaction might be low, it might be low because you might not be great at selling. Equally, the way that the sales satisfactions are pouring out with other customers, there may be that bias in there as well, but we just can't tell. But in the fullness of the exercise, in other words, the more people that you look at, products with a larger number of respondents than a smaller number, those effects should be ironed out, those effects should be cancelled. You'll notice this is a simple guide I've put together that you can download from the blog, and it'll help you go through the process. And it's secret, and does two things. Okay? All it does is look to find your price quartile, where's the price of your item, and what quartile is the price that's giving peers highest satisfaction. And you just match it in the table and follow the instructions that are within there. Okay? It tells you which key price point to aim at, and it tells you what to do completely. And then that will help you. That's everything you need to use to look at your pricing. So we've been through 3 worked examples there, quite a heavy session, but 3 important examples that you've been taken through that show you how to use the information. We always start off with the same thing. When you're looking at price, you actually start by looking at satisfaction. Only once you understand the price quartile that's giving highest satisfaction to your peers, can you then actually look at price. Once you've done that, You look at whether it's a raising of price or a lowering of price. You work out the business consequences for you of matching your peers and charging what would be seen to be reasonable with any other business just like you. And only then do you take account of the big chains. And remember, as I've said, the big chains don't automatically matter. All kinds of reasons. Maybe they're not in your locality. Maybe customers wouldn't consider, remember this issue of consideration, this idea of consideration. They wouldn't consider them a relevant destination. Yeah? All of those things come together and help you. But this has been the main video that helps you understand how to use the information you got to work out your pricing. If there's anything in here that you'd like to talk about or contact me over, or you don't understand, it doesn't matter, no issue's too small. You can drop me an email, john.coulter@targetcomponents.co.uk, or you can bob me through a message on any of those social media sites, any of those social media accounts. If you're interested in the regular flow of information I put out, I do regular tweets and postings on business information that I feel is of use to you, updates to the blog, changes in HMRC regulations, employment law, marketing best tips in social media, stuff that I think is relevant to you. I put that out through a variety of social media accounts, and you can see them all there. Consider following them, any one of them, and you can get the benefit of that as well. Thank you for listening, and the last video in the series is going to be about actually implementing price changes and what considerations and things you need to take account of when thinking about doing that. Thank you.